In this part of a lecture, first of all, we will learn about certain basic concepts pertaining to vegetation, and then we will move on to its classification. Let us start with the general meaning of vegetation in the field of biology. Vegetation is a scientific term used for the plant life of a region. It refers to the ground cover provided by the plants. It is a general term without specific reference to particular taxa, life forms, structure, spatial extent, or any other specific botanical or geographic characteristics. It is broader than the term flora, which refers exclusively to species composition. The closest synonym for the word vegetation is plant community. The primeval redwood forest, coastal mangrove stands, desert soil crust, roadside weed patches, wheat fields, cultivated gardens and lawns all are encompassed by the term vegetation. Now, let us see the effects of precipitation on the growth of different kinds of vegetation. The quantity, duration and intensity of precipitation profoundly regulate the vegetation of any place. For example, in tropical areas with heavy rainfall throughout the year, vegetation mainly includes evergreen forests. In countries with heavy rainfall during winter and low during summer, there are present sclerophyllous forests. The area with heavy rainfall during summer and low during winter are characterized by the presence of grasslands. The regions where rainfall is scanty are seen with deserts and xerophytic vegetation. Now, let us start with the vegetation dynamics as one of its criteria. Dynamism in vegetation is defined primarily as changes in species composition or vegetation structure. Like all biological systems, plant communities are also dynamic, that is, they change at all possible scales. Vegetation dynamics can be categorized into two types. Let us first start with temporal dynamics. Temporally, a large number of processes or events can cause change in vegetation, which can be further categorized as either abrupt or gradual. Abrupt changes in generally are referred to as disturbances, like these includes wildfires, high winds, landslides, floods, etc. Such events can change vegetation structure and composition very quickly and for long time periods, and they can do so over large areas. Fire and wind disturbances are particularly common throughout many vegetation types worldwide. Fire is particularly potent because of its ability to destroy not only living plants but also the seeds, spores and living meristems, representing the potential next generation. It also affects soil characteristics and other ecosystem elements and processes. Gradual temporal change occurring at a slower pace comprises the field of ecological succession. Succession is the relatively gradual change in structure and taxonomic composition that arises as the vegetation itself modifies various environmental variables over time, including light, water and nutrient levels. These modifications change the suite of species most adapted to grow, survive and reproduce in an area, causing floristic changes. These floristic changes contribute to structural changes that are inherent in plants. This causes slow and broadly predictable changes in vegetation. Now let us know about the second type of vegetation dynamics referred to as the spatial dynamics, which is related to the heterogeneity of the ecosystem. In natural systems, there is always heterogeneity, although its scale and intensity will vary widely. For example, natural grassland may be considered homogeneous when compared to the same area of partially burned forest, but highly diverse and heterogeneous when compared to wheat field next to it. Only in agriculture or horticultural system does vegetation ever approach perfect uniformity. If larger areas are taken into consideration, then vegetation will always be considered as a heterogeneous. This is so because temporal dynamics of disturbance and succession processes are going to increase as the size of the area increases. Different areas will be at different level of developmental stages due to different local histories, particularly their times since last major disturbance. This fact interacts with inherent environmental variability like soil characteristics, climate, topography, etc., which lead to vegetation dynamism. Now, we will try to classify the vegetation in detail. In actuality, much of the work on vegetation classification comes from European and North American ecologists. Vegetation types are given based on a combination of different criteria like climate pattern, plant habit, phenology, growth form and dominant species. Various types of vegetation can be classified into different categories. The first type of vegetation can be classified as tundra. Tundra vegetation lies largely north of latitude 60 degrees in North America, Europe and Asia. Tundra is characterized by the absence of trees and the presence of dwarfed plants. The upper ground surface is generally spongy and uneven due to freezing and thawing of poorly drained land. Another characteristic of tundra is the permanently frozen soil referred to as permafrost soil at a depth of few inches to several feet. Precipitation in this region is 25 cm per year, mostly as a snow. Winter temperature is -30 degrees Celsius to -40 degrees Celsius. Summer is for 45 to 75 days with highest temperature of 10 degrees Celsius. The vegetation consists of relatively few species. Tundra is Arctic desert with mosses like sphagnum, lichens like cladonia, grasses, sedges, dwarf birch like betula and few shrubs. The second type of vegetation includes alpine tundra. It is the treeless area on high mountains above the height of 3,500 meter which has snow for long months. It is well drained and slopy area. Plants include lichens, mosses, grasses, herbs, dwarf willow like salix, dwarf trees like juniperus and small shrubs like Artemisia primula, etc. The third type of vegetation is taiga or North coniferous forest. Taiga occurs in temperate areas, mostly in northern hemisphere and parts of New Zealand. Precipitation both as snow and rain. The largest taiga biomes are found in Russia and Canada. Winters are chilly while summers are pleasant in these regions. Marshes have cotton grass and sphagnum. Vegetation consists of evergreen conifers which include devdar, larch, juniper, white spruce, balsam fir, red pine, white pine, hemlock and yew. They are adapted to severe cold winters. They show very less transpiration because of presence of needle-like leaves. Broad-leaved pepper, birch, maple, poplar and aspen also occur at places. Lichens, mosses, ferns and herbs are abundant. The next type of vegetation includes temperate deciduous forest. As the name indicates, this region is characterized by a moderate climate and deciduous trees. This type of forest occupies most of the eastern half of the United States. The areas have warm summer and moderately cool winter. Rainfall is 75 to 150 centimeter. Dominant trees are oak, elm, birch, maple, ash, chestnut, hickory, beech, cottonwood, poplar and magnolia. Conifers occur at places. Shrubs, herbs, ferns, mosses, lichens, grasses and epiphytes are abundant. Most trees shed their leaves during autumn and make the soil brown. A mixed coniferous broad-leaved forest occurs in Indian hills between 1500 meter to 3500 meter, where trees height can reach up to 30 to 40 meter. Another type of vegetation is tropical deciduous forest. Climate is warm with alternate wet and dry periods. Rainfall is 100 to 200 centimeter. Vegetation includes broad-leaved trees which shed their leaves during dry season, for example, Butea, Bonbex, Shorea and Dalbergia. Famous sal, teak and samdal forest of India belongs to this category. The next classification type includes tropical evergreen forest, also named as rainforest. This type of vegetation is seen over equatorial regions with abundant warmth and rainfall of 200 to 1000 centimeter per year almost throughout the year. These forests possess maximum diversity. Approximately 200 types of trees are found in 1 hectare. The forests occur in famous Congo Basin of Africa and Amazon Basin in South America. In India, they occur in Western Ghats, Assam and Andamans. Vegetation shows stratification of emergent tree layer under story tree layer, shrub layer and ground layer. Most plants are evergreen with large, dark green, leathery leaves. Epiphytes, climbers, lianas, mosses, ferns and orchids are abundant. Trees include cinnamon, mahogany, ebony, rosewood, rubber tree, nutmeg, artocarpus, fig, etc. Palms, plantains and bamboos are also found in this region. Vegetation can also be classified as chaparral vegetation. It is a broad-leaved scrub forest with scleropyrus or thick-leaved shrubs and small trees found in Mediterranean and Pacific coast of several countries with winter rain and dry summer. In fact, the chaparral biome usually borders a desert biome. There are plenty of shrubs and grasses that are found in this type of environment. There are trees too, but many of them are considered dwarfs due to the small size of them. Bushes, fires are common. Even plants with seeds have become highly adaptive to the chaparral biome fires. Some of these plants only will sprout after the dormant seeds have been touched by fire. Several plants are fire resistant including sage, Arctostaphylos, Adenostema and Ceanothus. Trees of oak and eucalyptus also occur at places. Apart from this, tropical savanna is also one of the types of vegetation. Tropical savannas are grasslands with scattered drought-resistant trees that generally do not exceed about 10 meters in height. Savannas constitute extensive areas in eastern Africa, Australia, South America and Asia. It is a warm climate plain with coarse grasses, seasoned rain and frequent fire. Savanna is named after dominant trees like acacia, phoenix and eucalyptus. Not only this, grassland can also be considered as one of the types of vegetation. Grasses are dominant with non-gramineous herbs, scattered bushes and occasional trees. Prairies of USA and Canada, pampas of South America, steppes of Eurasia and tussocks of New Zealand and velds of South Africa are the best examples of grasslands. This region possesses hot summer, cold winter with seasonal rainfall of 25 to 75 centimeter. Last type of vegetation includes desert vegetation. Areas with less than 25 centimeter of rainfall per year are referred to as desert. They are found at lower latitudes between Tropic of Cancer and Tropic of Capricorn. Death Valley of USA, Sahara in Africa, Gobi, Arabian and Thar of Asia are best examples of desert areas. Desert, it can be cold or very hot. Ground is sandy or rocky. Vegetation is sparse consisting of cacti, euphorbia, acacia, phoenix, tamarix, echinopsis, aruya, etc. In general, vegetation is based on the geographical as well as the climatic conditions of a particular area. That's all about the vegetation.
Today we have learnt about the vegetation in a scientific way. In this lecture, we have got an overview of the effect of precipitation on growth of vegetation. We have also tried to understand the concept of vegetation dynamics, which involves the role of temporal and spatial dynamics on changes occurring in vegetation structure. The main objective of today's lecture was to provide an informative account of different categories of vegetation. We have classified the vegetation into different categories like tundra, alpine tundra, taiga, temperate deciduous forest, tropical deciduous forest, tropical evergreen forest, chaparral, tropical savanna, grassland and desert. During this lecture, we have also gathered information regarding different climatic patterns of rainfall, temperature as well as occurrence of dominant plant species prevailing in different ecological areas.